Good afternoon and welcome to the March 2018 committee meetings of Dubbo Regional Council. Please note that representatives of the media are present and have been approved to use a recording device to record this meeting for their records if they wish to. I should also further advise, as people are no doubt aware, that Council is now web streaming its standing committees and council meetings live to the internet. As the signs indicate upon entry to the council chamber, your attendance at this meeting in the chamber is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the March 2018 Planning, Development and Environment Committee meeting, the time being 5:31 p.m. For the benefit of the public, following Council's adoption of the delegation of authorities to council committees at the February 2018 Ordinary Council meeting, the committee may be determining matters at this meeting rather than recommending matters to Council depending on specific delegations. And for seasoned observers, that's why there isn't the usual seating arrangements and why we're seated up here. The first item of business is apologies. Councillor Gumley is absent, I understand, due to personal reasons. Can I please have someone move the apology of Councillor Gumley? Moved by Councillor Moore and seconded by Councillor Diffie. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? All those against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to item PDEC 189, report of the Planning, Development and Environment Committee meeting of the 19th of February 2018. Can I please have someone move the report of the Planning, Development and Environment Committee meeting held 19 February 2018? Moved by Councillor Moore and seconded by Councillor Grant. Any questions or debate? All those in favour and against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to the next agenda item, the building summary for February 2018, PDEC 1810. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Director of Planning and Environment? Moved by Councillor Parker. And a seconder? Councillor Diffie, thank you. Any questions or debate? Councillor Parker.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, I'll just make a general comment on the actual figures themselves for the month of February 2018 as against 2017. In 2017 we had 79 approvals for 25 million and for February 2018 we had 83 approvals for 11 million. So there was quite a significant difference there, but having noted that there was in the 2017 approvals a medium density approval of $12 million, but just on those particulars there, the approvals were down about 43% on 2017, February. Now, for the period 1st of July 2016 to 28/2/17, we had 610 approvals for 136 million, and for the same period, July 17 to 28/2/18, we have 112 million. So we're down about 17% there. So I guess the what I see from that is that there's it's possible that the regulators' plans to slow down the market could now be creeping into Dubbo. I'm not suggesting that it is, but the figures there sort of indicate, and also I think the market itself around town, there is a bit of a slowing in Dubbo at the present time. That's about all I just want to make some comment on there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Parker. Any further questions or debate? All those in favour and against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to item PDEC 1811, the draft planning agreement policy. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager Strategic Planning Services? Thank you, Councillor Jones. And the seconder? Councillor Etheridge. Before we proceed with that agenda item, I understand Mr Steve Guy would like to address the committee regarding this matter. Mr Guy, please come forward.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this afternoon. I just want to put on notice a few concerns I have with this draft policy, and I note that it's Council's intention to exhibit it for public consultation, so nothing is being made or set in stone yet. But the provision for a framework around how it deals with the planning agreements, as the report suggests, it currently does not have one, being Council does not have one, along with the concept of value capture within this report, with the intention of the application of value capture later detailed within the report. The need for Council's policy is noted. However, I also wish to advise Council that the EP&A Act is also very clear on what a planning proposal is, how it is to be made and what it should consist of. There is very clear process defined within the Act, followed by circulars from the Department of Planning. These exist, and therefore another layer of policy isn't really warranted. I believe an additional policy only raises more risk to those wanting to develop within Dubbo and Wellington, and potentially adversely impacts feasibility of future projects. And a flexible system proposed around and exhibited within the bounds of the Act is a better solution both for the general public and for business. I note the provision of value capture is, just on that too, the Act also says, is quite clear that it is without limitation within the Act that a planning agreement can be entered into as long as it's made for public benefit or public purpose. So now moving on to the note for the provision of value capture, it is tabled. I raise concern over the proposed rate, although I more seriously question its legality under the Act and the reality of fruition, as clause 7.3 of the EP&A Act requires a planning agreement to be in the terms of the offer made by the developer, i.e. if we don't offer it as a developer, that is the concept of value capture, then Council necessarily can't require it to be made. They can request it, but if the agreement or the developer doesn't want to agree to that as terms of their agreement, then I suppose the agreement or the negotiations stop there. So there's nothing to say that that couldn't happen now as well, but that having a policy framework around that, I don't know whether that's actually any benefit. If this is Council's position because of policy, then the offer or agreement would fail and simply not be entered into, and development proposed therefore would fail. So we wouldn't see any growth. I believe what would result is such a policy would stifle development as agreements, and that's not just for the residential development that we may enter into the future, but this would be generic. And where it would go from there, it's easier to do business somewhere else, I suppose, where other regions might be more accepting or more open to negotiations and discussion around provision for public purpose. Any proposed application of a policy in these three areas requires careful consideration to ensure both economic prosperity is provided for and reasonable public purpose benefits via works, contributions or dedication is provided for. I'm not saying that people shouldn't provide that, especially developers do generate the need for that within the community, but there needs to be a careful consideration and weighing up of where the benefit to both parties is. It is at the end of the day an agreement. It's not a requirement. So, if it's done carefully, if it's not done carefully, I should say, Council may never know in the future whether that policy is the reason why people don't develop here, because you simply just won't have agreements entered into under that manner. You may not ever have that development either, so it would just sit stagnant. So. If it's done carefully with good consideration and consultation, then I think it can be very, very successful to both parties as well, because Council can get the infrastructure that it needs then and there for that future demand, and also the developer's able to proceed. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Guy. Councillor Moore, I think you have an amendment, is that correct?
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'd just like to add a point 5 to the motion, and that being that a workshop of councillors and the public information session be held during the consultation period.
Thanks, Councillor Moore. Do we have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Diffie, thank you. Any questions or debate on the amendment? Councillor Moore, thank you.
Thanks, Mr Chair. The reason for this is so information can be gained by councillors. Information can be set out to the public and all interested parties. So a consultation period, not just that this gets passed and no one gets consulted, This can go out in the public. People have a chance to put in submissions, also have a chance face-to-face to speak to the staff and councillors, which I think is imperative.
Any other questions or debate, councillors? All those in favour of the amendment and against, I declare the amendment carried. The amendment now becomes the motion. Any questions or debate on the motion, councillors? All those in favour? Against, I declare the motion carried. That brings us to PDEC 1812 developer contributions and associated issues, South Lakes Estate, South East Dubbo, further update report. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager, Strategic Planning Services? Thanks, Councillor Parker. And a seconder? Councillor Moore. Any questions or debate, councillors? All those in favour? And against, I declare the motion carried. That brings us to PDEC 1813, R181 Planning Proposal Comprehensive Dubbo Regional Local Environment Plan Stage 2. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Senior Strategic Planner? Thanks, Councillor Jones. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Grant. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? And against, I declare the motion carried. There are no further items for consideration of this committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 5:41 p.m. I now open the March 2018 Infrastructure, Community and Recreation Committee meeting. As previously advised, for the benefit of the public, following Council's adoption of the delegation of authority to council committees at the last ordinary council meeting, this committee may also determine matters at this meeting rather than recommending matters to council depending on specific delegations. I've also again received an apology from Councillor Gumley, who is absent. Can I please have someone move that the apology of Councillor Gumley for personal reasons be accepted? Moved by Councillor Jones and a seconder. Councillor Grant, thank you. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? Against, I declare the motion carried. Next agenda item, ICRC 1824, report of the Infrastructure, Community and Recreation Committee meeting in 19 February. Can I please have someone move the report of that committee meeting? Thanks, Councillor Shields. A seconder? Councillor Diffie. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? Against, I declare the motion carried. That brings us to item ICRC 1825, draft water supply and sewerage services customer service standards and 2017 water and sewerage customer survey results public exhibition. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the Manager, Water Supply and Sewerage? Thanks, Councillor Parker. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? Against, I declare the motion carried. That brings us to item ICRC 1826, Anzac Day Ceremonies, Dubbo Regional Council area. Understand, Councillor Grant, you might be leaving the room for this one, is that right?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have to declare an interest in this matter. It will be a significant pecuniary interest. Basically, the company I work for, sorry, Mr. Chair, the company I work for, Elders Insurance, has business dealings with Stuart Town Progress Association and Mumble Advancement Association, who are arranging the respective villages' Anzac Day marches. So I'll be leaving the room.
Thanks, Councillor Grant. Okay, do you have someone to move the report? Thanks, Councillor Jones. And a seconder? Councillor Moore. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to ICRC 1827, Special Events Lazy River Estate. And Councillor Grant needs to come back. Sorry, Councillor Grant. That brings us to ICRC 1827, Special Events Lazy River Estate. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the Senior Traffic Engineer? Thanks, Councillor Moore. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Parker. Any questions or debate on this item? All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to agenda item ICRC 1828, report of the Victoria Park Redevelopment Advisory Committee meeting of 27 February 2018. Can I please have someone move the report of that advisory committee meeting held 27 February? Thanks, Councillor Jones. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Are there any items for deletion for further discussion, councillors? No. Any questions or debate? No. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to ICRC 1829, report of the Social Justice and Crime Prevention Working Party meeting of 28 February 2018. Can I please have someone move the report of the Social Justice and Crime Prevention Working Party meeting? Thanks, Councillor Ryan. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Grant. Are there any items for deletion for further discussion? No. Any questions or debate, councillors? All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to ICRC 1830, report of the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting of 8 March 2018. Can I please have someone move the report of that committee meeting? I note, our councillors, that the Street Tree Advisory Committee has been granted delegation by council to make decisions under certain conditions, and accordingly this report is for notation only. Is there someone to move that report? Thanks, Councillor Ryan. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Etheridge. Any questions or debate, councillors? All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to ICRC 1831, the report of the Cycling Facility Working Party meeting of 14 March. Can I please have someone move the report of that meeting held 14 March? Thanks, Councillor Grant. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Shields. Is there any items for deletion for further discussion? No. Any questions or debate, councillors? All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to item ICRC 1832, update Macquarie Regional Library and Service Model. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager, Macquarie Regional Library? Thanks, Councillor Jones. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Parker. Any questions or debate? I think there may be an amendment on that one. Thanks, Councillor Shields.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move an amendment as being drafted, and that is one, that the information contained within the report of the Macquarie Regional Library dated 13 March 2018 be noted. 2, that Council enter into a new regional library agreement with Narromine Shire Council and Warrumbungle Shire Council effective from the 1st of July 2018 until the 30th of June 2019 to allow Council to review its membership and delivery of Macquarie Regional Library service. And 3, that Councillor Anne Jones be the Councillor representative on the Macquarie Regional Library Committee.
Do we have a seconder for Councillor Shields' amendment? Councillor Moore. Any questions or debate on that amendment? All those in favour? Against? I declare the amendment carried. I'll now put the motion as amended. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? Against? I declare the amended motion carried. That brings us to the ICRC 1833 South Dubbo Tavern gaming machine threshold increase. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager Social Services? Councillor Ryan. And a seconder? Councillor Jones. Thank you. Any questions or debate on this issue, councillors? So the committee must now determine its position in regard to this matter and adopt a motion accordingly that either objects or does not object to the application of the South Dubbo Tavern for an increase in poker machine numbers from 21 to a maximum of 23. And it's necessary, councillors, for our motion, if it is to state an objection, to state the reasons for that. And I think being distributed now is a proposed statement of reasons, and that reads that Council objects to the gaming machine threshold application by the South Dubbo Tavern to increase poker machine numbers from 21 to a maximum of 23. The reason being that the cumulative impact of an increase in gaming machines would result in a negative impact on the socially disadvantaged of the Dubbo community. Any questions or debate on that, councillors? I might just say a few things about that. Do people have the draft statement of reasons now? I think everyone does. I'd like to thank the staff for bringing this to the attention of council. It is a matter, as I understand it, that the General Manager has a delegation to deal with, but it was seen fit, quite appropriately so, to bring it to committee. Certainly the case that in one sense it could be considered that an increase from 21 to 23 is a modest increase, but it is necessary, certainly in my view, to look, to take a long-term view and to look at the situation across our local government area broadly and consider the cumulative impacts of poker machines. I started looking into this issue coincidentally, in a sense, a couple of weeks ago, and had some statistics that are released by a state government agency, the Department of Industry, Liquor and Gaming, and what those figures show for the year beginning 1 September 16 is a total turnover in what was then the Western Plains LGA of $262 million. So that, as I understand it, is the total of the money going into the machines, and then a profit from the money put in of 22 million, just over 22 million, and a tax from that to government of 3.9 million. And it pays to look through these figures because it has the figures for each of the LGAs around the state, and I should say it shows in respect of Western Plains that we have 490 machines in the 10 venues across the LGA, and it pays to look at it in a comparative sense because you look at many areas across the state that certainly in a socio-economic sense are much higher than our LGA, and you see, for example, the LGA of Sydney has 691 machines. So that's an interesting comparison if one thinks about all of the pubs and clubs in that sort of busy area of central Sydney, but only really comparatively a relatively small amount more. So it pays to look at these figures and to compare the areas, but what it shows in a broad sense is that we have a lot of these things and they are taking a huge amount of money out of the community, and it's well known, of course, that these machines are used across the community. I've used them myself on numerous occasions, but they are used also by people with problems with addiction and people with problems in terms of criminal offending as well. And they have a disproportionate impact upon those people and a disproportionate impact upon the poor. And the money that is dragged out of these communities, certainly in terms of the club sector, goes to some useful social purpose, but in the pub sector you couldn't really say the same. This is a direct transfer of money from, in many cases, the most socially disadvantaged groups in the community to very rich people in the community, and it's highly socially damaging. And certainly it's the case that as a council we can't stop it, and in fact we probably can't even reverse it, but what we can do, in my view, is make a strong stand on it and send a message to anyone that is listening that we are concerned about these things, and we won't just tick the box and allow socially harmful and socially dangerous things under the guise of commercial operations to simply be approved in our area, and that we will, in the way that we operate, have regard to the interests of the most vulnerable in the community. So I would certainly like to voice my strong support for us taking a stand in the terms of what is in the motion. It's also important, I think, to be aware of the different nature of some of these machines, and we have machines that are legal in the state of New South Wales that are not legal in certain other states or states and territories. In particular, one type of machine that disguises a loss as a win. So the punter in fact is losing, but the machine buzzes and lights flash or whatever, and the person, sometimes the addict, is lured into thinking that they in fact have had a win, and that just encourages a person to continue, who might be an addict, to pour their money, whether it's money that's come through their own work, or come from social security, or come even in some cases from criminal offending, to keep pouring that money into the machine at the expense of victims of crime, at the expense also though of family members, particularly children, who should be receiving the benefit of that money. So it's quite a disgraceful thing, and some people might be aware of media coverage earlier this year that concerned the state government not releasing a report that exposed the insidious nature of losses disguised as wins. That's concerning as well, and not irrelevant to our considerations, particularly in Dubbo. So those are my thoughts, councillors, on why we should be taking a strong stand on pokies. Any other questions or debate?
Thanks, Mr Chair. Do we have a figure that is spent annually by gamblers on poker machines in Dubbo for the year?
So the figure that I just referred to, which was a figure, I might refer this in a moment to see if any of the staff have an idea, but the figure that I quoted, which was 1 September 16 to the 31st of August last year, which was for the then Western Plains LGA, showed a turnover of $262,874,236. That's turnover, so obviously a high proportion of that is returned to the punter. I might refer that question to Mr Wood, if you have any further insights into that.
Through your chair, and I'll pass that on to the Manager of Social Services, Mr John Watts.
Thanks, Mr Watts.
Through the chair, I think the figures that you've quoted are probably a bit light on. The figures that I've got for last year are closer to 400 million for Dubbo and Wellington.
Wow.
So I don't know if you do the sums on the number of people that live in both communities, it's a fairly highly substantial, I think, amount that most people are putting into poker machines if you count every man, woman and child, and I forget the exact figure, but it's quite high.
And Mr Watts, are you aware of any recent state government reforms or policy proposals in respect to poker machines?
I think the members here would probably recall that state government put forward a proposal, I think went through state parliament last week or the week before maybe, about a cap on poker machines, and I think Dubbo isn't going to be affected, but I think Wellington will be affected, so there will be a cap placed on poker machines in Wellington. I think other communities where there's problem gambling, particularly with poker machines, suburbs in Sydney, Fairfield, etc., I think the cap's going to be placed on them as well. I can't get a definitive list because I don't think it's been finalised as yet, but certainly my information tells me that Wellington community will have a cap on the number of poker machines that they can actually place in that community.
Any other questions or debate, councillors? Okay, all those in favour of the motion? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to ICRC 1834 Dubbo Regional Sports Council Playing Field Improvement Fund application, Dubbo Junior Rugby Club. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Recreation Coordinator? Thanks, Councillor Ryan. And a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Grant. Any questions or debate? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I'd like to declare a less than significant non-pecuniary interest. I'm on a subcommittee of the Dubbo Junior Rugby Club, which is organising an under-15 rugby tour to New Zealand later in the year. But I will stay in the room.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Any questions or debate, councillors? All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. That brings us to item ICRC 1835, new waste contract, commencing 1 July 2018. And I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Manager of Solid Waste. Thanks, Councillor Ryan. And a seconder. Thanks, Councillor Diffie. Any questions or debate? All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. There are no further items for consideration of this committee, and I declare the meeting closed, the time being 5:59 p.m.
Thank you, councillors. I now open the March 2018 Economic Development Business and Corporate Committee meeting. As previously advised, for the benefit of the public, following Council's adoption of the delegation of authority to Council's committees at the February 2018 Ordinary Council meeting, the committee may be determining matters at this meeting rather than recommending matters to Council, depending on specific delegations. Thank you. I've received an apology from Councillor Gumley, him being the only one absent. Can I have someone move? Councillor Gumley. Councillor Jones, second. Councillor Diffie. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Move to item EDBC 18/14, report of the Economic Development Business and Corporate Committee. Can someone move that way? Councillor Diffie, second. Councillor Ryan. Any questions or debate? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Next item is EDB 18/15, the Rural Fire Service Training Facility at Dubbo Regional Airport. Request for additional land. I'll note that that as this item relates to the compulsory acquisition, purchase, sale, exchange or surrender of land, the committee does not have the delegation to determine this matter, and the matter shall be referred to Council at its ordinary Council meeting on the 26th of March 2018 for determination. Can I have someone move the recommendation? Councillor Shields and second Councillor Diffie. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Next item is EDBC 18/16, the Wellington Coves Master Plan. Will someone move that way? Councillor Grant, second Councillor Etheridge. Any questions or debate? There's no questions or debate. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Next item is EDBC 18/17, report of the Audit and Risk Management Committee. Will someone move that way? Councillor Diffie, second. Seconder, Councillor Grant. Any questions or debate? Any items that need to be deleted for discussion? No, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. The next item is EDBC 18/18, investments under Section 625 of the Local Government Act, February 2018. Can I have a mover? Councillor Shields, seconder. Councillor Jones. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I'd like to declare a significant pecuniary interest in the matter before Council, and will leave the room be out of sight during discussion. The reason for this is that I'm the manager of the Bank of Queensland Dubbo branch, a bank that Council has funds invested with. Thank you.
Any other questions or debate? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We have Councillor Parker back, please. The next item on the agenda is EDBC 18/19, review of rate structure for 2018 to 2019. Can I have a mover? Councillor Jones, second. Councillor Ryan, any questions or debate? No questions or debate. I've put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. There being no further items for consideration, the Economic Development, Business and Corporate Committee, I declare the meeting closed at the time 6:05. Thank you for your attendance.